Looking for a short story to put you in the mood for Halloween? Check out these short stories, written by Sean Connaughton. When a mildly abusive man mistreats his bride-to-be on Halloween night, his neighbors decide to teach him a lesson. A lesson he won't soon forget when he finds himself in the witch's hole.
A Seattle detective, Scott Grimes, investigates a string of odd murders. But where this case ultimately leads him, he could never have predicted when he crosses paths with the legal murderer.
Join the Dunn family as they make their way to a vacation home for a weekend trip. However, when the sun goes down, things seem to get just as dark inside as outside. Stay with the Dunns and see if you can make it through the mansion.
These short stories are available all October long on Amazon as paperbacks. Also until December for ebook on Amazon.
Written by the fantasy author, Sean Connaughton.
If you miss out, these stories will be available all year round on Audible and iTunes. So don't miss out and grab your copy today.
Hello. So, welcome to another ranking. If you saw the thumbnail or the title, today's ranking is going to be the franchise of Tremors. Now, before I get started, I just want to say this will have spoilers for all the movies. Big shock, I'm sure. And if you have not seen these and you do not want it to be spoiled ahead of time, then go ahead, stop right now, and check them out. I'm not going to say this is my go-to favorite series of movies, but I definitely had an interest. And I have a little bit of a theory, which, come to find out, I'm not actually alone on, but I'll dive more into that after I finish my ranking of the Tremors franchise. So graboid yourself a snack, sit back, relax, and let's dig through the Tremors franchise. I also want to apologize. I am still getting over a little bit of a cold. Nothing to be concerned about, but if I sound a little stuffy, that's why. So, there are officially 7 of these movies and a TV series. Now, I have not seen the TV series, and I probably never will. I don't think it's on Blu-ray or DVD, at least not that I can seem to find. And it doesn't seem like any other, streaming service has this available. So, I will not be including the TV series on this ranking. As far as I understand, this franchise is pretty much done. It might get a reboot down the road, or who knows, it could get a whole nother film, but it doesn't look very likely that it will. So, with that said, starting at number 7, Tremors 2. I liked Tremors 2. The series does have one returning character, the character Burt Gummer, who keeps appearing in all 7 movies. But, Tremors 2 just wasn't as interesting. And the effects looked like they took a little bit of a step backwards for my taste. So, and I believe that's when they go down to Mexico, and they're given all this money and stuff to hunt graboids. Now, for those who don't know, graboids are the main creatures. And the full name for Tremors 2 is Tremors 2 Aftershocks, and it came out in 1996. This is the first appearance of the Shriekers as well. So that's where we get our, the evolution begins. Which I thought that was kind of interesting, but I mean, it's been done so much before. Let's just move on, though, to the next one. And the next one for me is at number 6, Tremors 3. Now, I did like this better than 2. I think it had a better storyline. It goes back to the original town. But Tremors 3, Back to Perfection, came out in 2001. And it basically was kind of like some of the same stuff over again. We also got a new creature that we learn about, that when the Shriekers eat enough, they can start to fly, and they get named Ass Blasters. So, yeah. Then at number 5, we have Tremors 4, The Legend Begins. This, to me, had a much better production, and it still starred Michael Gross, who was Gummer, and I really did like this one, but I don't know. It just wasn't as great as some of the further ones. They definitely were putting more of a budget into the, creatures. And this movie actually starred Billy Drago, who I'm a big fan of. He has guest starred in several TV shows I'm a fan of, but where people might know him best as playing Barbas from the original Charmed TV series. I won't even watch the new Charmed. The original Charmed was the best, even though I had my issues with it. But moving on. So coming in at number 4 is the original Tremors. It was a really good start. It was a little slow paced at first, and there were some things that were a little unbelievable. Like, there's only 6 or 7 people in this town, and the town is called Perfection. And some of the characters make good choices, some of the characters made bad choices. But it had an interesting take, it had an interesting beginning, and it wrapped itself up pretty interesting enough. There were several characters from this one, though, that I would have loved to seen come back, besides Gummer. I don't think Reba McEntire should have taken this role if she wasn't going to come back, because I think the two of them worked really well. And, I mean, he was fine on his own, but the relationship between him and her was much more enjoyable with her around. I wish they would have picked an actress that would have stuck around so she could have been there or been killed off in a mid-movie, but no. Yeah, so that, the original, it was good, but there were better ones after. So moving on to number 3, which for me was Tremors 6, A Cold Day in Hell, which came out in 2018. This is one where they kind of go to the Arctic, and it's more of the same, more or less, but there are much better graphics. There is a strong bond between Gummer and another character, and I really liked that. It was really interesting. I think it worked really well. but it just wasn't uh, as great as it could have been to get all the way up to the top. But sitting comfortably at number 2 is the most recent Tremors 7, Shrieker Island. This one, it basically, there's a island where there's, graboids, and then there's like this rich guy who's hunting the graboids, and he's charging his, rich friends to come to the island. And this is actually interesting because this movie has Richard Blake as the main big rich guy who's doing the hunting, and any horror fan knows Richard Blake is huge in the horror community. It also had John Heder, which is like Napoleon Dynamite. He's done some other roles. And yeah, I mean, the effects were really good. The graphics were really good. I really enjoyed them. So that's why number 7 is at number 2. So ass blasting its way all the way to the number 1 spot for me is Tremors 5. This to me was some of the best. I could have taken some of the elements from 6 or some of the elements from 7, would have made this movie better, but I really enjoyed the addition of Jamie Kennedy, and I wasn't sure at first what his connection to Gummer was going to be, but afterwards, after that connection is revealed, it's like, okay, yeah, I can see that. The comedy between the two of them was really good, like a really good buddy cop type thing. And finding out that Jamie Kennedy is his son and coming to terms with that while trying to save Australia from ass blasters, graboids, and shriekers, is really interesting also. So, that is my ranking for the Tremors franchise. If you'd like, please leave your recommendations or your ranking down in the comment section below. I really do not think they will keep making these now that the character of Gummer has died. And I warned you there would be spoilers. But since he's died, I don't think they're going to continue on with this series. There's a few possible directions they could go if, like, Jamie Kennedy decides to come back and pick up, where Gummer left off, I would like to see maybe even Kevin Bacon come back. I don't know what the storyline could be or where else they could take it. But those are just some ideas, I guess, if they wanted to continue on. Or they could just start a whole new reboot the series and start fresh. Fresh faces, fresh stories, or, fresh effects. But usually the reboots don't do as good unless they're willing to put a ton of money into it. And even sometimes that won't save it. But at the beginning I said I was going to shriek you with a special theory. One that I find I'm not alone on. I found one post between Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit that someone actually also asked the same question. And I believe that since no one else is really talking about it, there's some really hard facts that could make this true. So my question was, are the Tremor movies prequels to the Starship Troopers franchise. Now, before you say no, let me just start by saying, number one, both are insect-like in their own way. Number two, there are dozens of different bugs in the Starship franchise. And if my theory is right, these could very well be part of that, race or species, like an offshoot of those insects. So what is my theory then? Alright, so here's how it goes. The bugs, they travel planet to planet, kind of like a virus. They're a virus of the universe. They go from planet to planet, eating up all the natural resources, killing off the planet until everything is consumed, and then they die out, but they spread to other planets. And I think the graboids eggs are the first wave, the terraformers, the ones meant to stop any resistance. They're supposed to go, mass populate, wipe out most of the dangers, and then more eggs or more pods show up later carrying other species to help aid. And they're a patient race because, they have their own life cycles. They know what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it. And I think we could get the reveal that there could be like one big, massive, huge, giant, maybe planet-sized bug that spawns out all these random different types of eggs. And it has some kind of telekinetic, connection to all its children. And so they sent the graboids to Earth a long time ago. Then, because they kept being wiped out and they kept trying to mass populate but couldn't, reinforcements were sent in the way of the arachnids, the basic bugs from Starship Troopers. But by the time the arachnids started to show up, we've been fighting the graboids so long, we developed better weapons, better technology, and we started traveling into the stars to find out where all these things were coming from. So, that leads us to the events of the first Starship Troopers movie, where now we're in a full-out war against the arachnids, who are targeting every human population. I believe that would be an interesting tie between the two franchises. And like I said, I found one Reddit post where somebody was asking the same question, if these two franchises are connected. And that's mainly because the two franchises have insect-like creatures that do look very similar in design. So that's my take. That's my ranking for the Tremors franchise. Like I said, let me know your thoughts, your rankings down below. Let me know your thoughts on my theory, if you agree or not. Do you have a theory of your own? Because never concretely said in the movies unless I missed it. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear. Before I go, I just want to ask you to please subscribe to this channel so I can keep bringing you this kind of content if this is what you want to see. Make sure to click that notification bell so you're notified the second a new video goes up. I have a big announcement coming later this week, as well as some treats on Halloween Day. So be sure to definitely click that bell so you're notified, and you can get some of these big things that are coming out on October 31st. I want to thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you all next time.